that much attention. And then you add to that the TSA grabbing people's genitals, microwaving people. I mean, since when did America become like a cartoon police state?
You know, it does seem like every agency under this present administration is going that direction, and all the blame can't be placed there. You know, a lot of this is set up by the previous regime, but you know, the person that's in power now is responsible for what happens under his watch.
Well, sure, these presidents now are totally put in power by the big banks and foreign special interests, and that's why if Obama isn't elected and it's Mitt Romney, everybody's going to see the exact same acceleration. And then if a Democrat gets back in, same acceleration. Earlier we played a off the mic clip of what does sound like Obama, where a open mic was there, but he didn't know it was on, talking about, yeah, they're blocking Rick Santorum. Yeah, they're going to put Romney in. Yeah, you saw what they did to Paul whenever he was in Maine. I don't blame them. Maine and Iowa were clearly frauds and have been admitted frauds. And now the Ron Paul campaign, some of the younger folks that run his campaign are like, we can't believe we're not winning when the polls show we should have been winning early on. What they don't get is that there's fraud. I mean, how naive do we have to be about this?
Yeah, and I agree that the larger problem beyond the TSA is just a general disrespect for the Constitution in general. You know, the government's rights are limited by this document, or should be limited by this document, and we're just not seeing it anymore, and we need to.
How creepy is it to have the TSA say, don't interview this guy, he has an agenda, we strongly recommend, don't, I mean, what country do they think they're in where you're bad because you have an agenda called freedom and not being groped like you're being inducted into prison every time you travel?
No, I think the TSA might have a monopoly on creepy in the federal government. You know, ever since I filed that lawsuit, it's just the stuff that comes out of their mouths never ceases to amaze me. When I first filed it, their response was, that's what a terrorist would say. Now, I don't know about you, but I think that an American that comes and asks their government for, you know, for their rights should not be described as a terrorist or even compared as such.
Oh, yeah, I forgot they did that. Oh, yeah, asking for your rights is terrorism. Of course, you should ask them, hey, why'd the feds demand and pressure the State Department to get the underwear bomber on Christmas Day on the plane?
You know, I would love to, and if I ever get discovery in court, that will be on my list of things to ask.
So your lawsuit's been going on for, what, a year and a half or so?
Correct.
Well, I tell you, you're doing a great job when it comes to shedding light on these guys, and they're losing the information war. I mean, everyone I know hates the TSA, and last year, all of these state reps I interviewed who watched their wife and children be groped and won't fly now, they unanimously in the House said, we're getting rid of the TSA. Near unanimous in the Senate, and the Feds said, we'll have an armed air blockade of Texas. And I've talked to military officers that said that was actually being prepared. If Texas dare say we're enforcing our laws, don't grab people's genitals. I mean, it's just, it is beyond 1984. It is Twilight Zone. What do you think of what happened in Texas, where the Fed said we'll have an armed blockade?
Oh, Alex, I kind of caved. I mean, that doesn't seem like the Texas spirit to me, but you know, we got to call the government on this nonsense. Are they really going to blockade an entire state? And if they do, even if they do grow the balls to do that, what are the repercussions for that? You know, the rest of the country isn't going to stand for it.
Well, the Republic is in deep trouble, but it will rise again thanks to people like yourself. What comes next in your resistance to people that want to turn you into a prisoner in your own country?
Well, I mean, right now the ball is in the TSA's court. We had the knee-jerk response that they posted on their blog, which basically just made fun of the video work and, you know, failed to actually deny the claims that were made in my video. So it's up to them to see what they're going to do next. Are they going to remove the scanners? Are they going to ignore it? Are they going to say that I was wrong? Are they going to try and prove me wrong? I don't know where they're going to go with it. So that's the next step.
Well, they don't follow the law, as you know. That you've got to have a radiation officer there with a badge. You've got to test these machines. Congress for 2 years has wanted those readings. They gave them fake readings, got caught doing that. They lied and said John Hopkins said it was safe. The head of their radiology department said, we did a study and it shows it's deadly. So they just lie. They say they're not going to grope people under 12 and then keep doing it. First they said they weren't groping. All they do is lie and rob and steal. I mean, who else would want this type of job? So they're so incredibly lawless. They're not bonded police. I saw a Forbes article last week where even a congresswoman wrote an article and said, TSA coming to a highway near you. And she pointed out They're not even peace officers. Peace officers can't grope you and do all this without probable cause. How are they doing it? And I think that's why the federal government's so behind the TSA, because if they can get away with this, they can do anything.
That's correct. I actually made that point to a police officer who was nice enough to escort me out of RSW Airport in Fort Myers, Florida, after I wouldn't let the TSA grope me. I said to him, you know, if you tried to do anything the TSA just did, you'd be in trouble. You guys would get sued and you'd lose. And, you know, the TSA thinks that they have authority beyond police officers, and that's not what this limited administrative search in the airports is supposed to be or constitutionally can be. It's supposed to be the minimally invasive search required to determine if you have weapons, explosives, incendiaries, and that's it, and no more. It
was always meant to be a beachhead for a total federal power grab outside of law. I mean, if you go back, they modeled it off J. Edgar Hoover. Until the 20s, FBI agents couldn't even carry guns, and J. Edgar Hoover explained citizens can carry guns under citizens' arrest power. So we're going to get around the fact that the FBI has no armed jurisdiction outside of the district of, you know, criminals and the coastlines and things. We're going to get around that by citizens' arrest. And that's how they had personal firearms for over a decade when he first set up and ran the Bureau. And this is all history.
Reminds me of the TSA and their constant battle in the war on drugs. The TSA all the time is posting on their blogs how they just, you know, had a good catch of, you know, someone with a joint in their pocket. That's not the TSA's mission. You know, these drug fines are obfuscating the point that their mission is safety only.
Well, look, they use the rubric of safety to power grab. Truth is, they work for the military-industrial complex that staged 9/11 and all the rest of it. And I don't know your view on that, but certainly no one can deny the war on terror has been used to target the American people and take our liberties. Your take on that?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, even just the response from the TSA on their blog seemed to be another episode of fear-mongering. They actually use the words, we protect you from things that go boom, which seems like a completely immature and irresponsible.
Well, they were talking to us like we're three. They do that on purpose to dumb the language down. We protect you, thing go boom. We put hand in diaper, ole, keepy safety.
Yeah, and you have to wonder whether they actually believe it or not. You know, I just don't understand how they, you know, get up and they raise themselves up to actually post this stuff.
Let me ask you this final question. Any other points you want to make here? Out of all the outrages, making women drink their own breast milk, making women pump breast milk out to prove, you know, that I guess the breasts aren't Al-Qaeda. Now they are talking actually about doing full-body X-rays for breast bombs. Nexus proctology exams are actually they've talked about making people wear taser bracelets. TSA actually had meetings with the makers saying, yeah, everyone will wear a bracelet. So guilty until proven slave, guilty until proven guilty. We're just all guilty except for them and all the crimes they're committing. What's the most outrageous? Taking 6-month-old babies' diapers off and men fondling their genitals?
It's pretty tough. I'll tell you Andrea Abbott's story. She got arrested in Tennessee airport several months ago for not letting the TSA grope her daughter. That was pretty bad. There have been blatant abuses of people that have just been recording the checkpoint using a camera that have been arrested for that. Obviously, the old ladies in New York, the 3 in a row that came a month or so ago and said that the TSA literally made them take off their pants and underwear. That's pretty bad. You know, I got to feel for all the children that are going to be, you know, conditioned to be touched by people as a result of their parents telling them it's okay for the TSA to touch them.
Yeah, they're learning, and many top psychologists have said this is training them that someone in a uniform can grope you. This is pedophile training, and of course a lot of the TSAs turned out are pedophiles. Who else wants the job? I mean, grabbing men, women, children all day, but a perv or a control freak. And, of course, they called the old ladies liars until hundreds came out. And they said, yeah, we do take you behind closed doors and take your clothes off, but we don't call that a strip search.
Yeah, well, my prayer was if they're going to try and take me to jail for this one, that maybe I'll end up sharing a cell with the TSA agents.
So out of it all, you know what? I tend to agree with you. I think the greatest abuse is the pedophile training, because I was reading about Sandusky and pedophiles and their criminology. They'll do that with kids to find out if they've been abused before. They do this test touch. And I guess, you know, what should you call the TSA? You know, tyranny, snake assault. I mean, there's so many names for them. Training for sexual assault, total sexual assault.
I mean, I feel like the TSA is kind of a big test touch on America to see what the government can do to us. You know, it shocked me that when these body scanners came out that Americans were willing to let their government essentially photograph them naked. But it's been heartening to see that sentiment is largely gone. When my original lawsuit came out, there were a lot of comments, most of them good, but some of them didn't understand why it's a big deal for the government to do this. And now if you go to pretty much any news website now and read the comments, no one's happy with the TSA. America is waking up.
You know, you just really hit on something key. This is a giant test touch. I've called it slave training, dog training, acclimation, but that's what it is. And they admit it's to prepare us for forced inoculation, for arrest of the general public. I mean, they want to get in our space, and they know what they're doing, and it is total sexual assault. That's what TSA stands for. What are some of the little acronym names you've got for them?
Wow, they are a dime a dozen. Someone just sent me a new one that was, we should rename it from TSA to SDA, Security Theater Administration. I kind of like that one. So they're all over the internet if you'd like to go find them. But yeah, you're absolutely right. It is conditioning. And you know, watching those videos you put out last month about the FEMA camps, you know, kind of puts it in perspective that, you know, this, even if it doesn't really bother you to have the government look at you naked, it is the next step. So
I had military officers on today. Well, it's training the police and military to do this. They're now using TSA violation. Police are now adopting it, going, well, we're going to grope you without a warrant or without arrest because, you know, they're doing it. And now TSA, you saw in New Mexico, where they train now at the high schools how to grope people. They're the trainers.
It's terrible. I'll tell you, last year I was stopped and frisked by the NYPD, which is another big human rights abuse that you can find in New York City. And even their pat down or frisk was nothing compared to the TSA. The TSA truly just likes to touch you everywhere.
Well, they're there to push boundaries, move the Overton window. In fact, I was reading where there's hundreds of thousands a year of stop and frisk where they just randomly pull you over, or you pull up to checkpoints. I've pulled up to them but not been searched. They just looked in. But I've talked to people where now they search your car and jerk you out. I mean, this is just a total takeover. We're in so much trouble. Well, people can find out more and see the media intimidation at tsaoutofourpants.wordpress.com. Thank you so much for spending time with us. Anything else you'd like to add?
Thanks, Alec. I appreciate you having us on.
Thank you, sir. All right, folks, that is it for this gigantic edition of InfoWars Nightly News. I mean, we just cover so much every night, and I wish I was a radical. I wish I'd been wrong about all this over the years. Believe me, but unfortunately, it's all coming true and worse than I even thought. But the only answer to this 1984 society is 1776, and it's a mental awakening, a mental rebellion and resistance to tyranny. So if you're watching this transmission, you are the resistance.